What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including Vince McMahon rejected Bayley's new stable, Becky Lynch injured, is WWE erasing Vince McMahon, a former WWE star was backstage at Summerslam, poor Summerslam attendance, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out Wrestlelamia.co.uk and a non-wrestling channel, Incredible. And now let's do the intro and get straight into our first story. Now, first story looks at Vince McMahon rejected Bayley's new stable. Our top story today takes a look at last night's SummerSlam event and how former WWE chairman Vince McMahon previously shot down one of the most exciting developments to come out of the show. Following Bianca Belair's victory over Becky Lynch, Bayley made her grand return to WWE. And she wouldn't be alone, as she was joined by Dakota Kai and Io Shirai, who will now be using the name Io Sky. Not sure why, because Io Shirai was perfectly fine. Whatever. According to a new report published by Fightful Select, this stable was actually pitched to McMahon, but he outright rejected it. The report states, if it wasn't obvious, this new stable is a product of the new WWE regime. We've heard that stable was actually pitched quite a while ago before Dakota's release, and Vince McMahon rejected it. There were other versions pitched that included Raquel and Kaylee Ray before they got called up and repackaged respectively. Triple H is clearly off to a great start from a creative perspective, as the introduction of Bayley's new stable was the highlight of SummerSlam for many fans, and judging by social media's reactions, they can't wait to see where this storyline goes. It's unfortunate that McMahon had previously said no to the storyline, but thankfully McMahon is now out of the picture, and Triple H and the new regime are free to book whatever they see fit. What do you guys think of Bayley's new stable? Are you guys excited to see the storyline develop? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, details on Dakota Kai's WWE return. The return of Dakota Kai took everyone by surprise last night. Kai was released from the WWE back in April, and this was her own decision, as it was reported that she had no interest whatsoever in renewing her contract. Naturally, things have changed, and when Triple H took over WWE Creative, he made it his mission to get Kai back on the roster. But from Kai's perspective, a main roster call-up, working with Bayley and working under Triple H seemed like a no-brainer, and this would have heavily influenced her SummerSlam return. But there would have also been a huge lack of motivation from Kai to sign under the prior regime. Kai was rejected for a call-up by Vince McMahon several times, so if Kai did re-sign a number of months ago, she would have been an NXT 2.0 mainstay with little chance of ever being called up to the main roster. In relation to Io Sky, there were rumors that Sky was departing from WWE. These rumors came from the fact that Sky's contract was set to expire, and there was zero news in relation to Sky possibly re-signing back with the WWE. Thankfully, with Triple H in charge, one of his priorities was clearly making sure Sky re-signed and was moved up to the main roster. Sky joining the main roster opens the door for several huge matches, including Sky vs Asuka and Sky vs reigning Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair. Next up, is Becky Lynch injured? There is some concern coming out of SummerSlam that Becky Lynch is injured. Lynch was holding her arm towards the final moments of a match with Bianca Belair, and following the match taking place, Lynch would receive assistance from the WWE medical team. Hopefully this is a kayfabe injury and Lynch is perfectly fine. And Lynch going down with an injury would be a huge blow for WWE, as she is their biggest female star, and an injury could gravely affect potential storyline plans involving Bayley's new stable. Next up, WWE erasing Vince McMahon. Heading into SummerSlam, fans were curious to see if Vince McMahon would be name-dropped or his departure would even be alluded to on the show. However, outside of some small indirect comments on commentary, McMahon has in theory been erased. In the video package before McAfee vs Happy Corbin, WWE showed highlights of McAfee's matches at WrestleMania 38, but it didn't even show any highlights of his interactions with former WWE chairman Vince McMahon. Additionally, according to PW Insider, the office, which was traditionally built as McMahon's office backstage before his exit, was simply listed as the CEO office. Any signs that would previously be in place to reference the location of McMahon had been removed, as if it was never there. WWE are clearly entering a new era, and with SummerSlam 2022 receiving rave reviews from fans, this new era could be one that becomes extremely special for fans across the world. A lot of fans will comment that the show felt different from a production standpoint, with specific mention being drawn to the commentary of Michael Cole, who seems to be full of life, and would have natural banter back and forth with Corey Graves, something that Cole was previously prohibited from doing. Cole would even subtly address this with the line that stated, "A lot has changed," which was clearly a reference to the WWE departure of Vince McMahon. Next up, a former WWE star backstage at SummerSlam. A former WWE star, Lana, was backstage at SummerSlam last night. This has led to some fans to speculate that WWE could be considering bringing her back to the company. In reality though, Lana was just visiting friends and she was just in the area after appearing at StarCast. Also backstage was legendary WWE superstar The Undertaker. The news that the dead man was backstage had leaked online a few hours before the show went on the air, and there were some rumours that the dead man could potentially be appearing on the show. But similarly to Lana, The Undertaker was already in the area, having taken part in a one-man show during SummerSlam's weekend. The dead man appears to be enjoying retirement while still keeping tabs on what's going on in the crazy world of WWE. Next up, poor SummerSlam attendance. A WWE Hall of Famer Kane made a guest appearance at SummerSlam last night to announce the attendance. He would claim that over 48,000 fans were in attendance, but judging by the photos from fans, WWE struggled to fill the stadium. Virtually half the stadium was empty, and according to Brian Alvarez, WWE added around 10,000 to the legitimate number of SummerSlam attendees. This is common for WWE to inflate their attendance numbers. 38,000 or so in attendance isn't too bad after all. SummerSlam isn't Wrestlemania, and running a stadium for SummerSlam is still a relatively new concept for WWE. Next up, AEW star throws shade at Goldberg. A former world champion Dolph Ziggler took to Twitter yesterday to wish fans a happy SummerSlam, as well as state the fans would pay big bucks to hear a backstage story about the day he faced Goldberg back in 2019. A current AEW star Jake Hager replied to the tweet by saying, "Take my money, let me guess, Goldberg wanted to get catering but fell down walking in?" Hager calling Goldberg Goldberg seems to be implying that there is an issue between the two, but what this issue is unknown. It's entirely possible that Hager is just trying to create a buzz and means no harm by the remark, but it's only a matter of time before Goldberg is made aware of Hager's comment. Next up, Roman Reigns hits an insane milestone. Roman Reigns was successful in his defense of the undisputed WWE Universal title last night at SummerSlam. Reigns would defeat Brock Lesnar in a totally insane yet acclaimed last man standing match, and Reigns has now been Universal Champion for 700 days, making him one of the longest reigning world champions in WWE history. Reigns is now set to defend the undisputed title at Clash at the Castle against Drew McIntyre, and if rumours are to believe, this is where Reigns will finally drop his titles. Reigns has taken on a part-time schedule as late, and one of the things that Raw and SmackDown is missing is the presence of a world champion on a weekly basis. Although there are rumours that Reigns could be facing his cousin The Rock at WrestleMania 39 next year, this can still happen without Reigns being in a possession of 2 world titles. And finally, an AEW star tried to get fired from WWE. Our final story today takes a look at how current AEW star Bryan Danielson actively tried to get fired from WWE. Back in 2016, Danielson was forced to retire from in-ring competition, and the WWE decided to make him the SmackDown general manager. Whilst this was a role which was well received, Bryan wasn't happy and he wanted out. According to Danielson, he would do everything in his power to get fired, and the way he would do this is by pushing PG guidelines during Talking Smack. During Talking Smack, Danielson would often make comments that certainly pushed the boundaries of what a PG product was allowed to include, and Danielson would discuss this during an appearance on the Sessions with Renee Paquette. Danielson stated, "A little bit of a nightmare for me. I enjoyed it in the sense of sometimes I was trying to get fired, so bringing up fisting on Talking Smack." Obviously, Danielson wasn't fired from WWE and he would remain in the role for just under 2 years before being medically cleared to compete. But there you have it folks, the wildest news stories and rumours you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.